Hello, and welcome to the Friday reading. Today I've decided to do Swing Vote. It is the third full-length novel that's part of the Safe Harbor series. In the first book, A Change of Plans, you're introduced to Lynn North, who's the main character who gets shipwrecked. The second book, Torn Canvas, is that it's like a parallel novel that runs alongside A Change of Plans because it's from a different character's viewpoint, Yuri, and takes you from about 75 pages in and actually takes you a little bit beyond the book. So today I'm going to do Swing Vote. This particular book is near and dear to my heart because the female main character is a city recorder. There are only 2 states in the United States that call that particular job city recorder. In other states, they're city clerks, municipal clerks, city secretaries. In an awful lot of the states in the Union, they're responsible for elections. I happen to choose this one to be set in Utah because that's where I live and I understand Utah law since I ran municipal elections for over 20 years. A lot of the things that Mackenzie talks about in her experiences are things that I or my other recorder friends experienced. In this particular case, the male main character is Lynn's brother. I haven't done a reading yet from A Season of Change, which is just a little novelette that kind of connects Torn Canvas to Swing Vote. But just to kind of give you a heads up, Mark was a Marine and he was serving in the Middle East. And unfortunately, he was actually not in combat at the time that the IED hits his Humvee, but is helping with a charity to bring goods to an orphanage. That orphanage is actually based on a true one, inspired by one of the fire captains from the city that I worked for, who was also a Black Hawk helicopter pilot who served in Afghanistan. And they started an orphanage while they were there. They wanted something good to have come from the time that they spent there. So anyway, Mark was injured quite severely. He's sent home. He spent, maybe 20 months living with his sister in Montana with her family. And he's kind of been on hold, waiting to figure out what to do with his life. And so I'm going to read you the beginning of that chapter. Marc North watched the birds outside the window cut through the air in a swirling array of motion, up and down, in and out, free. A sense of longing twisted his gut to fly again. He wanted it, needed it. In the corner of the waiting room, a pair of parakeets chirped at each other, and one flitted against the top of the cage, trapped. An unexpected sense of kinship filled him. She's ready for you, Mr. North." The receptionist pointed toward the door. He straightened, arching his left foot and stretching his leg before limping into the psychologist's office. "Hey, Dr. Foss." He smiled and tried to look happy to be there. "Good afternoon, Mark." She watched him as he sat, her legs crossed at the knee and a notebook on her lap, as always. "The progress you've made is phenomenal, considering you've only been walking 3 months. 2.5. He had overdone it when he first gave up the cane and been forced to use it a while. That had blown his confidence. "Yes, but your hard work has paid off," she said. "You must be proud." "I am." The power of Mark's words came out strong in his voice. When he had first wakened in the hospital and found his leg and life shattered by an IED, he had doubted he'd walk again. He patted the folded paper in his shirt pocket. My physical therapist released me this morning. Good for you. Dr. Foss peered at him over her reading glasses. For having just received such good news, you seem anxious today. How are the nightmares? Mark shifted in his seat, his pulse quickening. The dream diary in his hand seemed like it had grown too hot and would draw attention to itself. Why, just when a great opportunity had landed in his lap, did the nightmares have to ratchet back up? He forced his breathing to stay even. The question came as no surprise. Dr. Foss had gotten good at reading his body language even when he tried to hide it. They were much better. He tapped his right foot, grateful for the calming rhythm that came with the now familiar technique. I almost never jump at sudden noises anymore. They were much better. Dr. Foss glanced at his foot before shifting her gaze back to him with a raised brow. What's changed? He took a deep breath and stilled his foot. I want you to release me from therapy, too. Mark, we've already discussed the long-term nature of your treatment. Once again, what's changed? I got a call last week from a Marine buddy. He wants to start a helicopter sightseeing business, and he'd like me to partner with him. Mark tried not to hold his breath as he waited for her response. Interesting. Dr. Foss jotted something down. Where's the business based? In a small town in southeast Utah off the Green River. Southeast Utah. Dr. Foss patted her chin with a finger as though trying to remember something. What kind of health services do they have? You mean for crazies? Mark couldn't keep the bitterness from his voice. When the psychologist shot him a disapproving glance, he wished he'd kept his mouth shut. Is your sister crazy? Or those friends of yours? Of course not. He knew better. Having watched the TV interview with the survivors following the pirate attack on his sister's cruise excursion, almost every passenger had commented on having nightmares. I just want my life back. I have every confidence that you will get beyond the need for treatment and have a very good chance of not experiencing symptoms. Dr. Foss leaned forward. You need to be patient with yourself. Be as dedicated to this as you have been to walking again. You're right. Her reply didn't surprise him. When was your last nightmare? Dr. Foss nodded toward the notebook in his hand. I've had 3. He thought for a second as he handed the dream diary to her. No, 4 since the phone call. I had 2 the first night. But nothing last night, Dr. Foss said, glancing through the pages. Good. She added to her notes. Have you identified a specific trigger? Well, I thought about it a lot. I'm sure it's a combination of excitement about finally moving on, plus a little stress about making a change. He sat taller. I don't think it's an unreasonable response. People get anxious when they're about to make a major life change. Yes, they do, she said. Is it the thought of flying again? No, it's not the flying, Mark said. If it's not the flying, Dr. Foss said, her voice soft, do you think it's about having people's lives in your hands again? Hearing her say the words Mark had wondered about sent a little jolt of fear through him. It was gone almost as fast as it had come. I've wondered about that too, especially after I had 2 nightmares in one night. Mark shrugged, calm again. I don't think that's it. You're confident about that? She asked. As much as I can be about anything. He eased back in his chair. And with that, have a good weekend. Thank you.